What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is MrHurriicane and today we're talking franchise mode in Madden 19, and specifically, I have selected 5 teams that I think would be great picks for your franchise team in Madden 19. Now this has been the toughest year ever for me to come to a conclusion on what team I want to use. I'm still going through that process. You can make the case for so many teams. There are many options that have room for you to draft and add talent to the roster while also having great players already to build around. I'm going to break down 5 teams for you today and make the case for them, but I'm also trying to come to my decision, so I have a poll on the video. Of the 5 teams I talk about today, let me know the team you would most like to see on my channel in a franchise for the next year. Some of these teams I'm still considering. And the first one we'll talk about is the Arizona Cardinals from the NFC West. They went 8-8 a year ago, and I feel they have one of the most unique roster situations in the league. Unfortunately for them, that's not necessarily a good thing. They have 4 standout talents in Patrick Peterson, David Johnson, Chandler Jones, and Larry Fitzgerald. Those 4 players are all upper tier at their positions, and they give you players to build around. Now, Larry Fitzgerald is getting a bit older, but you're still going to have time with Peterson, Johnson, and Jones in their prime. I wouldn't expect Larry Fitzgerald to stick around for more than just the season, but the rest of your roster is all 84 overall and under. This team has a lot of work to do. You have a young quarterback to build around in the rookie Josh Rosen, a player I like quite a bit. His accuracies fit well into more of a short and intermediate-oriented passing game. With this offense, you're not going to have a very good offensive line, and you could definitely use a lot of receiving options to complement Larry Fitzgerald. He and Jermaine Gresham are not going to stay around forever playing at good levels. On defense, Patrick Peterson's a playmaker, but they let Tyrann Mathieu go. That's still a head-scratcher. There's some good potential in this front 7. What's interesting about Arizona is that they're one of the teams that are least built for their scheme, at least in Madden 19. Both the offense and defense are lower than any team I have seen. They also have some players who are kind of in that mid-70s overall tier, players that might be helpful for the long term, but you don't know, but their contracts are ending after year 1. I feel the Arizona Cardinals give you a challenge from the very beginning with some tough decisions to make. There are some players I really like though that you can develop. Budda Baker is one of them. He's entering his 2nd year. He's an outstanding athlete, but without great cover skills or tackling, what's his identity at safety? Marcus Golden is a player I liked a few years ago coming out of Missouri, and he put together an awesome 2nd year in the league with 12.5 sacks. Unfortunately, he's now coming off a lost season due to an ACL injury. Hassan Reddick is another great athlete, the inside linebacker out of Temple. His main ability is going to be as an inside run defender, not so much in coverage. Overall with Arizona, I like the challenge you get in that division. Any team that's in the NFC gets a boost in difficulty just by nature of that conference being so competitive. One thing that separates this team from a team like the Bears or the Browns, who have a ton of young talent with high potential and development traits, is that with Arizona you have players that might not pan out. They're a lot less likely anyway than like Roquan Smith or Denzel Ward to become the players you want them to be. Budda Baker, Hassan Reddick, Ricky Seals-Jones, Christian Kirk, you don't get guarantees there, but you do have potential if you play your cards right. Sorry, couldn't resist. Team number 2 we're going to talk about. It's the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are coming off a 6-10 season. Of course, they did not have Ryan Tannehill and threw out the Jay Cutler experiment, but now Tannehill is back. And I feel he returns to a better offensive situation than he left with. That's helped out by Kenyon Drake and Devontae Parker. We also have a lot of veterans on defense that lead this team with Rashad Jones, Cam Wake, and William Hayes. Those players are good, but you'll need to develop new stars for this roster within a few years. And you also have to decide, is Ryan Tannehill going to be our guy? He's 30 years old, so can you count on him getting a lot better? I wouldn't say it's very likely he'll go up to a high 80 overall. But he does have better deep accuracy than a lot of quarterbacks, so there's definitely something to work with if you still like what Tannehill brings to the table. Kenyon Drake emerged last year, and that was great news for Miami in an essentially lost season. He's a great speedy back, but he's the kind of back you want to pair with a good power back. Devontae Parker, they drafted him to be the #1 receiver of this team, and I think he's showing that he can be that guy after fighting through some injuries to begin his career. While this is far from a top offense, they all fit well together. I think that Tannehill and deep threats like Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker give you somewhere to start. Defensively, things are pretty incomplete at all levels of the defense, but there's some hope. Raekwon McMillan lost his rookie season to an ACL tear, but he's back, and I think he could be a great middle linebacker. He has the speed, range, and run-stopping ability to be that guy. Minkah Fitzpatrick is a player that I loved in this past draft. He's more talented in coverage than a lot of safeties, and what I recommend you do straight away is use the new specialist depth chart option and make him your slot cornerback. That means in your nickel and dime packages, he'll play corner instead of safety, which means you'll need another safety then in those situations. Also, Mike Gesicki, he's an interesting athlete at tight end. And I'd just like to further iterate that this offense isn't anywhere near top tier right now, but there are players that you can work with and develop at tight end, running back, and receiver. So if you like developing an offense, this could be the team for you. The offensive line could use some work, and that's a theme for the teams here in this video. They did acquire Robert Quinn, so they have some added pass rush depth. You can always move William Hayes to a pass rush defensive tackle and bring Quinn off the bench in nickel situations. There are some unique things you could do with this team, and I like the talent in place. There's also potential for you to draft and add players to the defense, and maybe even bring in your own quarterback. Let's move on to team number 3. From the same division, the New York Jets. The Jets went 5-11 last year, which is a lot better than many, including myself, thought they would do. Part of that was that they actually ended up having an offense that was watchable. This is still a team that needs a ton of work, and unlike many other teams, they don't really have that top-tier caliber player. The Browns have had Joe Thomas, the Buccaneers have Mike Evans. The Jets' best player, the most likely to become a superstar, and probably will before too long, is Jamal Adams. He is 23 years old entering his second year, and he's one of the most talented strong safeties in the game. He actually hits and covers exceptionally well for a strong safety. There's a young quarterback, of course, in Sam Darnold, who's 21 out of USC. His deep accuracy needs a ton of work. There's also Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not letting my dreams go of Teddy being a starting quarterback and succeeding somewhere, so you could roll with Teddy. But no matter your quarterback, you'll need to do some work in protecting him. The offensive line is not good. At receiver, there's some hope with Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse. Both were very good a year ago. At running back, I think things are maybe average to below average. Isaiah Crowell's not a bad player, but you could certainly use an upgrade. Robbie Anderson gives you a deep threat who doesn't exactly mesh well with the 74 deep accuracy of Sam Darnold. Jermaine Kearse is probably your more likely target in the first year of Darnold's play if you use him as a rookie. At tight end, I'm surprised they didn't keep Austin Seferian-Jenkins. They instead picked up Clive Walford, a player that I always like coming out of Miami. For the defense, of course, we talked about Jamal Adams. There's also Leonard Williams and Steve McClendon. But who rushes the passer? This might be the worst pass rush unit in the NFL, so if you want to go find the next edge rusher, the next great edge, this is the team to put him on. Leonard Williams is a great player, but pass rush is more of a team sport than individual sport these days. Trumaine Johnson, he's a good corner, but he's definitely not in the upper tier. He's the best you got right now, and you're paying him a lot of money. Jordan Jenkins is your best edge rusher. He basically only rushes with finesse, and that's only a 75, so you know where you're going to be needing some help. One player I think is interesting, of course I am the running back guy, but Elijah McGuire. If you make him your third down back, he has this nice all-around skill set. He could be a good complement for you moving forward. Overall, I think it's a really interesting team here with the Jets. Like I've mentioned, they don't have a superstar yet. I think they're going to, but it's going to be at a position that the NFL really doesn't value as much as others, and that's safety. With this roster, you're relying on a lot of players who are in that high 70s, low 80s range, and those players might be solutions, they might not. And I kind of like the unpredictability that comes with it, I guess. I enjoy things that make a franchise building experience more of a challenge. I also think that with Darnold's deep accuracy, you're not going to be able to take full advantage of Robbie Anderson without some missed throws in there. The O-line is an issue, but Darnold at least has 80 throw under pressure and 85 throw on the run. Team 4 plays in the same stadium. It's the New York Giants of the NFC East. You'll have the joy of playing against the defending Super Bowl champions, of course. And you're going to have some star power. Of course, Odell Beckham Jr., one of the top receivers in the league, is on your team. But while you have some great young talent on offense, you'll need to find a new quarterback to distribute the football, because Eli Manning is coming to the end of his career as a 76 overall player. His accuracy ratings are definitely worrisome, especially downfield. Actually, if you consider playing Kyle Lauletta, who's a 71 overall, his accuracy ratings are close to Eli's. He could be better by the end of a year. But of course on the Giants, Odell Beckham, Saquon Barkley, the rookie running back, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram. It's an offense that was built for Madden. This team's going to be a highlight reel. I'm not sure how many games you're going to win right away because there are some inconsistencies, but you're going to have a lot of fun on offense. Saquon Barkley is going to be awesome with that speed and power blend. I feel that having a better running back this year is more important than in most years because of the way the running game has been made more difficult. Feels like defenses put up more of a fight. Nobody's going to want to scheme around Evan Ingram on defense, and they did work on the offensive line this year. Nate Solder and the rookie Will Hernandez. That's who's going to pave the way for Saquon Barkley with his 95 strength. Defensively, they're moving to a 3-4 scheme, and there's some inconsistency here. I like Landon Collins. Snacks Harrison is a great nose, and you get Janoris Jenkins. Collins is becoming a star at safety, and to do that these days, you gotta both cover and hit, and he can do that. Janoris Jackrabbit Jenkins, I like his skills out at corner on the boundary, but you're going to need some more secondary help. You're also going to have to work on the front seven, and they've attempted to do that. They gave a big contract to Olivier Vernon, and they acquired Alec Ogletree, who has a great reputation for making these highlight reel plays, but his skill set has a lot of holes. With Vernon, you're probably not going to get the kind of play to justify that massive contract, but he is a good pass rusher. But I feel with the New York Giants, more than other teams, you're dedicating a lot of money to players who aren't top tier. Throw in Nate Solder into that mix, who's an 83 overall. That's the way free agency works, and getting players from other teams, you're going to pay more. You're not in a bad cap situation, though, especially when Eli Manning is no longer on the books. You just have to worry about keeping Odell Beckham, Landon Collins, and already having one of the top paid running backs in the league in Saquon Barkley. If you want to manage here, sign those players and save a little money. Like I said, Kyle Lauletta, the Richmond Spider. Make him your starting quarterback. I think it could work out for you. The Giants just stand out to me because they're a team that needs help, but that offensive nucleus, it's not going to be fun for any team to play against them, no matter how good of a team they are. And how do you stop plays like this? I got one more team for you today, and we're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks, a team that had ascended to the top of the mountain not long ago. But they've now fallen, and there's an opportunity for you to rebuild them in Madden 19. Now, this is one of the most unique opportunities because how often do you get to rebuild with a very high-level quarterback who's only 29 years old? The Legion of Boom is no more, and it's time to give this team a new identity. I would go all in now on offense and become an offensive-minded football team building around Russell Wilson for the remainder of his prime. Get him an offensive line so he doesn't have to run for his life all the time. There are running backs to develop, including first-round pick Rashad Penny. I'm also a fan of Chris Carson. I like Mike Davis and J.D. McKissick. Ed Dixon's your top tight end, so you might want an upgrade there. I feel like Penny's a really fun player for you to get started with because his skill set is also pretty complete with some speed and power blended together, but without no line, it's going to be tough for him to reach his potential. Doug Baldwin is an excellent receiver. I love his style, but your secondary receivers aren't the best. Defensively, like I said, no more Legion of Boom. The defensive line is now more of a weakness than a strength. And now linebacker is where this defense really shines with KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner, the number 2 rated middle linebacker in Madden 19. He flies around the field, is a sure tackler, and even just playing against him in this practice for clips, it wasn't a good time. Now I'd recommend starting off this franchise by trading Earl Thomas, who's a free agent at the end of this year. I would just take that storyline that's been going on here during the offseason and run with it. Get something for him. You also get the Griffin brothers. Your top corner is Shaquille Griffin, and of course an outside linebacker, I'm sure we all know the story by now, Shaquem Griffin. His skill set is something else in this game. He's so fast, he can rush the passer, he can hit, and he can play a big role in getting this defense back to prominence. His skill set is absolutely incredible, and a 91 speed linebacker, that's elite stuff. This is not the team that most would really think about, at the beginning anyway, for a franchise. They weren't a playoff team a year ago, but they have had a lot of recent success. But I still feel that the Seahawks offer a unique situation because if you do build them back up, it's probably going to be in a far different way than they were built up in the first place. I also like the idea of trying to follow up the Legion of Boom. We're so used to the Seahawks having this defense nobody wants to mess with, and now you've got to rebuild it to that point. Russell Wilson gives you a quarterback you're not going to worry about replacing for many years to come, but there's a lot of help needed around him, starting at the offensive line, getting some more playmakers to help you out on offense. I feel they're a great option this year, and there are so many that I didn't include in this video. We could have talked about the Bears, Browns, Ravens, Bucks, Chargers, Chiefs. I considered so many teams for this video. I just considered 5 that I thought were interesting, and I couldn't spend more time thinking about who to include. So I'm sorry I didn't include other teams that would have been great to talk about as well. Let me know what you thought of the video down below in the comment section, and of course I'm still trying to think of the team that I'm going to use. So I have the poll on the video, and it's not necessarily a poll to pick my team, but it's a poll just so I can see what maybe some of you would like to see. Have a great day, everybody. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again soon.